What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Well, it's official. Undisputed lightweight champion Devin the Dream Haney will once again take on former undisputed lightweight champion George Kambosos. You know, that's not a surprise at all that this is going to be the next fight for Devin Haney. Now, Devin Haney and his team was looking at bigger names at lightweight, but actually, George Kambosos got a case that he's probably the second biggest draw at 135 behind Gervonta Tank Davis. Look at the crowd that they drew in the first fight. They have 40,000 in attendance for the first fight with Kambosos versus Haney. So he's shown to be a draw, and he's got a case that he's the second biggest draw. Now, he's got bigger number than Gervonta Tank Davis, but you look at the gate that Gervonta Tank Davis brings in along with the crowd, he's a bigger overall draw than George Kambosos. But you just talking about fans capacity. Yeah, George Kambosos is the #1 draw at 135 and one of the biggest draws in the sport of boxing. So you got to give credit where credit's due. He's the best available name for Devin Haney. I know Devin Haney's team was looking at bigger names that in their eyes bigger name, but in all actuality, they ain't bigger names. Maybe, like I said, Gervonta Tank Davis is the only bigger draw at 135 than George Kambosos. I will put Ryan Garcia as the third biggest draw and then Devin Haney as the fourth biggest draw. But that's all about draws. Who is the best fighter at 135? Currently, it's Devin the Dream Haney. Make no mistake about it. And he basically was locked into a rematch with George Kambosos. Only way he could have got out of that rematch would go up to 140, but who's the big name at 140? That's bigger than George Kambosos at 135. Nobody. Plus all the top fighters are tied up. Josh Taylor finna fight Jack Cottrell. You got a vacant title fight in the WBC, and I believe either the IBF and the WBA have announced or about to announce fights for their vacant belt. So the only thing that's going to be on the line for Jack Cottrell versus Josh Taylor is the WBO title. So it ain't no title fight or no big name opponent that's not in a title involved in a title fight at 140 for Devin Haney to fight. Now, he can fight Regis Prograis, but you know that's a dangerous fight for no belt. So why would he do that? George Kambosos is a bigger draw, you know, Regis Prograis, who had to go to UK and fight his biggest fight of his career when he took on Josh Taylor because he didn't have the drawing power here in the United States. You know, so we will see what happens and we will see what transpires, but this is a surprise to very few people. Everybody saw this coming. You know, people was, like I say, talking about, well, Devin Haney and Gervonta Tank Davis, that'd be a good fight. Yeah, but it's not going to be the next fight. Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia, that'd be a good fight. Yeah, but it's not going to be the next fight. He's locked into a contract with George Kambosos. Now, he had a way out to 140, but that's a horrible option. So basically, he had no choice. George Kambosos was the best available name. George Kambosos is the second biggest draw at 135 behind Gervonta Tank Davis. Just look at what he drew in his last fight in his home country, 40,000. And I'm pretty much sure they're going to sell out Rod Laver Arena for that matchup. Now, it was not an exciting fight. Devin Haney put on an exhibition. I mean, exhibition in a good way. I ain't talking about no exhibition like amateur fight. He put on an exhibition like show that he's on a whole nother level than George Kambosos. Great performance. You know, only thing I would ask him to do is start sitting down on his punches. When you see you are a class above or two classes above your opponent, sit down on your shots and start trying to get the guy up out of there, or trying to at least get a stoppage. That's one thing that Gervonta Tank Davis and his promoter Leonard Ellerby say. If the opponent ain't supposed to be in the ring with you, you get him up out of there. There ain't no way in the world he should see the 12th round, the end of the 12th round. And that was the case with George Kambosos. Now, George Kambosos is going to be very more active in the rematch. But he's just at a disadvantage as far as skill set, you know, technical aspect of boxing. And he don't really have that type of game-changing power to get Devin Haney's respect. Or, to be able to get that shot off. Even if he could get his respect, he's not able to get that shot off with Devin Haney's defensive superiority over him, man. He's pretty much took everything George Kambosos wanted to do in that fight away from him. He said going into the fight he was going to disarm him. Whatever George Kambosos do well, he was going to take it away, and that's exactly what happened. And that's why he's a pound-for-pound fighter. Devin the Dream Haney. But the fight is official for October 16th. It will take place October 15th here in the United States. It'll be on ESPN primetime. And this is just going to be another dominant performance, in my opinion, by Devin the Dream Haney. Once he gets through with this fight, if he can't get none of the big names at 135, I would expect to move up to 140 for Devin the Dream Haney. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. George Kambosos has been out here going in on Teofimo Lopez, saying that he's taking his loss like a man. He said Haney was the better fighter on that night, and that to this day, Teofimo Lopez continues to make excuses, saying that he had all kinds of different issues, career and life-threatening issues at that prevented him from performing at his best in that fight. And George Kambosos ain't trying to hear it. And he's got a video of him right before the fight, moving around, dancing, looking good, looking like he's ready to take on George Kambosos. He said, hey, you know, you looked good all before the fight. Now, after I beat you, you coming up with these 1,500 excuses. Take your loss like a man and quit being a bitch, is what George Kambosos said. So George Kambosos is going to have to get in there in the rematch with Devin Haney and perform much better than he did in the first fight. You got to give the Victorian government a lot of credit, man. A lot of people was thinking they weren't going to come up with their money again based on the performance that George Kambosos put out in the first fight. But they looking at it like this. They say, we're going to put on another big event. We're going to put it at a historic venue like a Rod Laver Arena. We're going to have a good crowd. Devin Haney beats him again. So what, man? We got, you know, maybe we can get Devin Haney to come out here and fight another fight. Devin Haney has acquired a lot of fans down there in Australia. Who to say once he defeats George Kambosos, if he gets a spectacular stoppage or a spectacular knockout in this fight, they might want him to come back. Even if he don't get that, you know, he puts on another dominant performance. It's all about the sweet science in boxing in a lot of cases. Maybe the country would like to host him in another fight. So it's all about building bridges, man, not burning bridges. And that's another bridge you can build right there in Australia, man, and you maybe can go back there and fight. You know, the UK fans are notorious for wanting a lot of the fighters that they love here in the US to come over there to the UK and fight. So maybe, maybe, Devin Haney has definitely acquired a fan base down there in Australia, and who knows, maybe he can go back there and put on another mega event down there in Australia. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But it's official. Devin the Dream Haney versus George Kambosos. It won't be Haney versus Tank. Tank and Ryan are looking to face off against each other. I doubt that fight happens, you know, for many reasons. You know, you got the zone versus PBC, which is a big obstacle that needs to be cleared for this fight to take place. And then you have a situation involving what weight they're going to fight at. Ryan says he's not going back down to 135 for nobody. And Floyd Mayweather Jr., who promotes Davis, said that he must fight him at 135. Ryan has come back and said, okay, no problem, I'll fight you at 135. But I don't think Oscar De La Hoya didn't want that fight for right now for Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is the biggest star at Golden Boy. Why would they take that risk of him getting knocked off when they don't have a deep stable to begin with? They got basically 3 fighters. They got a 3-deep roster. You know, they got other fighters there, but basically they got 3. I'm going to say 4. I say 4. They got 4 top-notch fighters at Golden Boy. Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz Jr., Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez, and Jaime Mejia. And Mejia starts fading real fast. He need to get in there with somebody with a pulse, man. It's absolutely ridiculous how they've been moving him. So outside of those 4, man, they don't really have nobody, man, that, they got JoJo Diaz probably a couple of steps behind those 4. He's got a little bit of a name, former world champion, but they don't have a deep roster Golden Boy. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Tank Ryan is the first option for the PBC. Oscar De La Hoya, I think, is doing the smoke and mirror. They really don't want to make that fight, so I don't think the fight gets done. Garcia is going to take on JoJo Diaz November 5th on the zone. You heard it here first. And Gervonta Tank Davis will take on Michelle Rivera, who is the highest-ranked opponent under the PBC umbrella in the WBC. That fight will take place in December on Showtime pay-per-view. That is the problem. That's what's going to happen. I was about to say that's the likely scenario. It ain't the likely scenario. That is the scenario. That's what's going to actually play out. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard.Briscoe.3551. Follow me on Instagram, 9707 Gerard. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.